Bit of backstory, my brother and I are very close, his wife and I not so much, we've had our fair share of tension. Anyway, I fell sick in the middle of May, but held off getting checked out because of COVID and safety reasons. Eventually, when June started I decided to go check it out, turns out it was stage 2 breast cancer. I decided to tell my family 2 days ago since lockdown laws have been lifted, so I invited everyone over, and when I told my brother and his wife he said okay that's fine, because he has news to share too. So our family gathered, and my brother decided to go first. He did ask me, and he announced that his wife is 4 months pregnant. Of course, everyone was overjoyed. After about an hour they asked about my news, and I knew this was probably the last time in a long while before I had everyone here in person, so I told them. And of course, the initial joyous atmosphere was gone. The rest of the evening was a lot of support for me and not a lot of attention on my brother and his wife. My brother didn't seem to mind this, as he was quite distraught with my news, but I saw his wife pretty upset and cornered off. So I decided to approach her, and I apologized for the timing of it all. She told me I could have waited a bit and Skyped everyone with the news, as it's just stage 2, and let my brother and her have this moment with their family. I told her I initially called this meeting for this exact reason, and she said she knows, but I knew my news would damper everyone's mood. So I told her she's being ridiculous, and I wanted to tell my family in person, since they are my family after all. And she burst in tears and demanded to go home, which my brother obliged to even though he was confused. He promised he would come see me soon since he stays close by to me. Later that evening I get a message from him asking if I told his wife that she isn't part of the family and that I deliberately wanted the attention on me because that's what she's upset about. Also the next day my parents called me to check up on me, and my mom mentioned that my brother's wife called yesterday evening really upset telling them what I said and claiming I'm jealous because she's pregnant and I'm trying to ruin her life. I told my parents what actually happened and what I really said, and it caused not only tension between his wife and me, but my parents and her too, and now she's also blaming me for my parents not being her biggest fans. My brother is torn but has been trying to talk to her, which results in more tears and a strain in their marriage. All this drama is making me think that I should have just called up everyone rather, or just told my brother that his news had to wait, even though that would have been selfish of me. I really wanted my family support that day, but I'm starting to rethink whether it was worth all this drama and potentially causing further problems. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You discussed sharing news at the same gathering prior to it. There's no way anyone would have known that your news is that you have cancer. If you and your sis-in-law never got along, she is just upset because of that. She's being selfish. It's not like you decided to get sick at the same time that she's pregnant. Also, grandparents or to-be grandparents tend to want to keep the carrier of their grandbabies happy, so that could be why it seems like they on her side. Not the idiot. First of all, your life is in danger. That takes precedence over a pregnancy announcement. Second of all, it was inappropriate for them to make this announcement when you called the meeting. They were probably excited, but they also should have realized that you might not have good news. She has no right to take out her frustration at the situation on you. She can be angry and frustrated, but she should have dealt with that privately. Then she lied to people about what happened. That is ridiculous. Not the idiot. If this was a meeting your brother, your parents, or anyone else called, then you would be the idiot. However, you called this meeting, and your brother and sister-in-law decided to take the moment away from you, not to mention making the moment awkward by sharing their own news. Your sister-in-law is also being a dramatic idiot by claiming that your diagnosis is ruining her life. Congratulate your brother on becoming a father and tell his wife to pound sand. I wish you the best of luck in your recovery. Her sister's family was fine in the past, we got along. My wife is very close to her fam. But since the birth of my daughter, Jay, 2 years ago they got a bit weird, at least in my opinion. With the state of the world, I am a bit protective, so I'm more comfortable if Jay goes out with her mom, or me, and not with extended relatives without either of us. I told them this, my wife agreed, but as soon as we got home from the hospital after the birth, the sister waited until I was in the bathroom, and then her and her husband put Jay in the buggy at 11 p.m. and went for a walk. Me and my wife had a bit of a dispute about this, as in my culture, you're not meant to take the baby out for no reason for 40 days, but my wife and her sister both said in our culture it's okay and disregarded me. Edit. My wife is Spanish, and I'm South Asian, if that helps with context. Since then they've been okayish but have done some things that I'm not comfortable with. Her sister is almost constantly at our house showering our daughter with gifts and said to my face that it's best if Jay learns her mom's side language, Spanish, and not any of my family's side language, because Spanish is more important as a lot of Jay's relatives in Spain don't speak English. Not even English. Thus Spanish, which would make it hard for me to communicate with my own daughter as I don't speak it. I try my best to teach her both my lang and English as well, but my wife told me her sister showed discomfort at the idea. Her sister also said to my face that it's best if Jay isn't so attached to me and constantly tries to get Jay's attention when she's clinging to me if we're at a gathering or she's camped out at our house. She also tries to teach Jay the Spanish word for dad rather than dad in my language to my face. My wife sees no wrong with this since she's family, but is mildly annoyed she's over so much. I've been silent to avoid conflict up until now. The final straw for me was 3 days ago. I came home from work and her sister was over again with Jay and her sons, and she were feeding Jay chocolates after 9 p.m. while my wife was in the kitchen away from the whole scene. We don't feed Jay sweets before bedtime or she doesn't sleep. I tried to tell them this and she started baby talking Jay, not talking to me, saying in Spanish things like "Daddy's so mean he doesn't give you chocolate, you're my baby now" and things like that. I admit I lost it a bit because I'm an essential worker and I'm already stressed and I don't know what the hell her problem is. I fought the hell out of her, then told my wife she either can't come over or if she does she can't be alone with Jay and my wife needs to tell her to please respect our boundaries. My wife is telling me I'm an idiot even though she's agreed in the past about these boundaries and that some instances were weird. Not the idiot. It sounds like your wife's sister doesn't like you and is trying to disconnect your daughter from you. You're her father, of course, she should be attached to you. I'm really concerned with how your wife is ignoring this and letting her sister treat you so poorly. You and your wife need to discuss very firm boundaries with her sister and your wife needs to back you up. You're the father and your authority trumps your wife's sister. Thanks for being an essential worker. Good luck. Not the idiot, this is some weird crap. If your wife and her sister have ganged up on you, I'm not sure what you can do about it though. I think you and your wife need to speak to a therapist to get on the same page. This might be available via text, calls, or video conferencing. If you think she might hesitate to agree to this, can even present it to your wife as a way for you to understand her way of thinking. If your wife refuses, you can still go and learn some ways to handle the situation. Not the idiot at all. Your wife is, you had a clear talk about boundaries and she broke them. Her sister sounds terrible. I think it's great that your daughter is learning all these languages. Young children are really receptive to it and it will be easier for her to be multilingual in the long run, so don't let her sister dictate what language your child speaks. Talk to your child in your language too. But yeah, your wife needs to open her eyes. Try talking with her about boundaries again. My wife thinks we should be happy that we have a professional in our family who can give her advice outside of ballet school. I think that since he isn't her teacher, why would he comment on her posture and form? I think it's okay to give her uncle-like comments, like "well done," but I don't see why it's necessary for him to go further than that, and also I'm not 100% comfortable with people who aren't her parents having videos of her dancing on their phone. Currently, my wife is forbidding me from talking to our daughter about it and I think she's being unreasonable. You're the idiot. I did a lot of dance when I was younger. The first teacher I had always gave a lot of compliments. I was one of the best in the class, our performances were very good, etc. It was only when I started preparing for dance exams with another much tougher teacher that got a reality check. Suddenly my posture and movements needed work and practice. We drilled down into the details of what I was doing. It was hard, there were times I got frustrated. But I learned a lot and the proof was there when I got my results. You're the idiot. I think it is good your daughter is wanting someone who actually knows what they are talking about to take a look and give an honest opinion of her dancing, instead of sugarcoating everything, which is what you are wanting. If the guy had no background at all in dancing, I can see your point, slightly, but that is not the case at all, as he's a professional giving corrective advice. you have the issues, and I agree with your wife. You're actually the one being unreasonable. You're the idiot. He's a professional encouraging an aspiring dancer, posture, and form are key elements to dance. Simply keep an eye on the messages and leave her alone. Her actual teacher isn't critical like him because the students she's teaching are younger. Your brother-in-law teaches students who are much more serious about dance and seems to be giving her tips other children her age aren't yet receiving. As long as he doesn't become negative or inappropriate with his criticism, all should be good. So, I used an app to pay for a cleaner to come today. It's something me and my siblings do when we use our parents' house when they travel. We are between the ages of 17 to 22, so we can pull together enough money for it, and when they are away, we have more friends over than usual, might have a house party. They are extremely strict about having a pristinely clean house, like more than most people, so we respect that, and we clean as much as we can. But hiring a professional with their tools and solutions really helps. It's really important that they clean the downstairs floor extremely well, like the living room, kitchen, bathroom, etc. I didn't want to hire them for the bedrooms or upstairs bathrooms, we can do that ourselves. But this is the first time using this app for hiring, and instead of choosing the hours that you want, you have to input the number of bedrooms and bathrooms that you have, and the app decides the amount of hours it will send the cleaner for. I played around with it so that it gave me a 4-hour option, so I didn't input the amount of bathrooms and bedrooms that we actually have, or it would have hired a cleaner for much longer. So it comes to this morning and I realize that the house is really clean. This time my parents went away. We didn't really have anyone over, as usual. The downstairs bathroom was barely touched. We didn't use the kitchen much, but I wasn't going to cancel obviously. The cleaner arrives. I explain to him how important that the downstairs area is pristine, all the mirrors, floor, etc. So if he has time, he can move on to the areas, but no pressure on the upstairs, just go through the downstairs. He's done downstairs in less than 90 minutes, that's another 2.5 hours left, so I take him upstairs and show him the bathrooms and bedrooms, and he gets really angry. He says this is not fine, it's not what you listed. I explained like I did when he arrived earlier, that the only important area was downstairs and to do as much of the upstairs as he has time for. He's still huffing and getting annoyed, saying that what I did was wrong, but I've explained that he only needs to clean for the time I hired him for and then leave. Even if it's not finished upstairs, but he's still not happy. You're the idiot. You didn't like his attitude. You shouldn't have given him an attitude to begin with. He came to clean what was listed and not what wasn't listed. A freaking course, it's not alright to make him clean more than what was being said. And then you have the audacity to wonder why he gets mad. Seriously. Get over yourself. It's pretty much a tempted trick as well. Sure, the app said he'd be sent over to clean this and that for whatever amount of time. But from the sounds of it, he's paid for what he cleans and not for how long he cleans. You're the idiot. Imagine you're at work, getting paid for a 9-to-5 job, but with very explicit expectations about what you are expected to get done in a day's work in your job description. Imagine that you finished the entire day's allotted work by 2 p.m. because you're more efficient than your coworkers. Because of this, your boss gives you extra work not in your job description, just to make you fill the extra 3 hours, which is work you were very clearly not employed to do. You're the idiot. If they gave you the estimate based on size, not time, then him working extra hard and getting done early was his own call. Basically, you punished him for working efficiently. He could have taken it easy if he knew it was just about being there 4 hours. I get that you probably never had to work a horrible job to make ends meet, but you literally posted that you played around with the app to get the quote you wanted, then sprung the extra space on him when the job was completed. So my daughter and her friends are all 18 to 19 years old. As with any dad, I have always said, if you need me anytime there's an emergency, just call me and I will come. Well, the other night they were out clubbing and drinking, etc., and at 1 a.m. I got a phone call from my daughter. Expecting the worst, I answered. She asked if I could come to pick her and her friends up as her friend had lost her purse and couldn't afford the taxi with them. They couldn't cover her fare and had no way of getting home. I said yes, relieved that it was just this simple. I head in and picked them up, but I got a bit suspicious when I saw said friend with her purse, so as we were all driving back I asked them to hand up the fare they all would have for the taxi and I will let the friend off. Shocked, they all looked at each other and said they didn't have it. I asked why, and after some pushing it turns out they had already spent the money on alcohol and had no intentions of getting a taxi. So we dropped everyone home and I had a chat with my daughter the next day. I told her I said she should call me in an emergency only, drinking all their money away and expecting dad to be a taxi is taking advantage of that privilege, and I mean that. If it's a genuine emergency I will come to no questions asked and no repercussions. However, she thinks I am the idiot for doing it in front of her friend, whereas I think I gave them all a valuable lesson. So, am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Your daughter screws for her actions, but you screw for the mixed messages. She should not have blown through her money, but I can see how that happens when you are mid-drinking and having a good time. She made a bad decision and took advantage of you. But I also presume based on the text that this was the first time that it happened. If so, asking for money from her and her friends when driving them home was not the best idea. It would have been more effective to have a talk with her the next day and discuss it like adults instead of shaming her. Not the idiot. They could have been honest with you. You would have kinda been the idiot if you would have let them stranded then, but that's another story. They are young, they make mistakes, but they should learn basic responsibility. Planning how to get home after a night of drinking is one of them. And no, relying on parents without talking to them first certainly isn't a reliable way of getting home. You made no mistakes here, good on you for both getting them home safely while still not being walked over. Not the idiot. It is surprisingly rare when someone using the phrase teaching a lesson is not actually on the stupid power trip. You not just refuse to enable them when they try to take advantage of your offer, you also role modeled standing for oneself and keeping own boundaries. Good job all around. It is normal for young people to try to push boundaries and be irresponsible adults in their lives. Not enabling it and addressing it the way you did is what makes them, not to make it a habit. She tried to take advantage of you in front of friends, you addressed it immediately in front of friends.